If you can translate what he said, I'll give my job to your mother. Ricardo Montero burst into laughter, leaning back in his leather chair as if he had just told the funniest joke of the century. His finger pointed at Carmen Silva, the maid, who quietly poured coffee in the luxurious meeting room of the Thompson mansion. At that very moment, the Chinese businessman, Mr. Chen, had just finished speaking for 5 long minutes in Mandarin. He spoke with confidence, precise gestures, and increasing irritation. Yet no one in that room understood a single word. The atmosphere was elegant. Polished marble floors, crystal chandeliers, and windows overlooking the Beverly Hills Gardens. But beneath all that glamour, panic was spreading. William Thompson, the real estate tycoon hosting the meeting, was sweating. The interpreter had cancelled, and the billion-dollar contract was unraveling right in front of him. Meanwhile, Carmen Silva, 48 years old, hard-working, humble, and invisible in her own workplace, kept her eyes lowered. 7 years serving that mansion, 7 years of being present yet unseen. But just outside the door, someone was watching. Leticia Silva, 22 years old, Carmen's daughter, had come home early from university. She stood in the hallway, silently witnessing her mother being publicly humiliated once again. She had seen this too many times. Ricardo loved these moments, turning tension into entertainment, especially if it meant degrading someone he believed was beneath him. "Come on, Carmen," Ricardo smirked, tapping the table. "I'm sure you understood what Mr. Chen said. After all, hard-working maids learn languages while washing dishes, right?" The room filled with laughter, polite, nervous, fake laughter. William also laughed, not because it was funny, but because he feared losing the deal. But Chen did not laugh. His dark eyes hardened. He recognized disrespect when he saw it. And in his culture, disrespect was unforgivable. Carmen stayed silent. She had learned long ago that reacting only made the humiliation worse. "I'm sorry, Mr. Ricardo," she murmured quietly. "I don't understand Mandarin." "Of course you don't." Ricardo slammed the table, still amused. "So let's make this fun. If your maid can translate a single sentence," he said, "I'll give her my job. Right here. Right now." The room erupted again. A black maid replacing a Harvard-educated executive? To these men it was comedy. But outside the door, Leticia did not laugh. She clenched her fists, because Ricardo had no idea who he was messing with. What no one in that room knew was that Leticia had been studying Mandarin for 7 years. She wasn't just a college student. She was specializing in international relations and the Asian market, preparing quietly, strategically, patiently. She had one mission: to change her mother's life. While they laughed, while they mocked, while they assumed she knew her place, Leticia was becoming exactly the kind of woman they said she could never. The embarrassment kept piling up. Ricardo leaned back, soaking in every moment of what he thought was his show. "You know what, William?" he said with a smug grin. "Let's up the ante. If your maid can translate just one sentence, not only will I give her my job, but I'll also cover her daughter's college fees." Laughter erupted around them. Carmen stood in the middle of the room, holding her empty tray. She had been at this job for 7 years, 7 long years of silence, hard work, and being treated like she was just part of the furniture. "Mr. William, I really don't understand Chinese," she said quietly. "Just say something," Ricardo goaded. "Come on, make us laugh." From the hallway, Leticia's breathing slowed. This was no longer just disrespect. It felt like a kind of violence wrapped in humor. She recalled the countless nights she spent studying Mandarin, burning the midnight oil. She thought of the overnight shifts she pulled just to scrape together enough for her textbooks. She remembered every time her mother had to swallow her pride to make ends meet, every insult, every laugh. Every time they said, "People like you should know your place," Leticia's expression hardened. This was the moment she had been gearing up for. She stepped forward. She adjusted her backpack, pushed open the door, and walked in with the calm confidence of someone who knew exactly what she was about to do. The room went quiet. Ricardo frowned. William blinked in surprise. Carmen's eyes widened, her hand flying to her chest. "Excuse me," Leticia said, her tone steady and professional. "I'm Leticia Silva, from the UCLA International Relations Program. I'm here to help with your communication issue. Ricardo laughed, but this time nobody joined him. What, you? He scoffed. You're the maid's daughter. What makes you think you belong in a meeting like this? Leticia smiled, unruffled. That's interesting, Mr. Ricardo, she replied. The first thing you questioned wasn't my qualifications, but my mother. Then she turned to Mr. Chen, her demeanor smooth and respectful. In perfect Mandarin, she said, Mr. Chen, I sincerely apologize for the disrespect you've faced today. From now on, I'll be translating and mediating. The reaction was immediate. Chen's face lit up with relief, respect, and surprise all at once. Your pronunciation is excellent, he said in Mandarin. Where did you study? Here in the U.S., Leticia replied fluidly. I focus on Sino-American business negotiation and intercultural communication. Ricardo's jaw dropped. William's eyes widened. The security guards exchanged looks as if they had just witnessed a magic trick. Carmen stood frozen, tears welling in her eyes, but she didn't cry. No, this was pride, a pride that had waited years to surface. Ricardo finally lost it. No, this is absurd. She can't just waltz in here and... Actually, Leticia interjected gently, you made a public bet, Mr. Ricardo. She pulled out her phone and played a recording. Silence weighed heavy in the room. Ricardo's smug smile had completely vanished. William stood frozen, trying to process what was happening. Carmen's hands trembled, as not in fear, but in disbelief and pride. And Mr. Chen? He was smiling now, a calm, measured smile, like the kind a man makes when he realizes he has finally found someone worth doing business with. Leticia continued speaking in fluent Mandarin, clear, confident, unshaken. Mr. Chen, thank you for your patience. If you will allow me, I would like to review the investment documents with you to ensure everything aligns properly. Ricardo exploded. No, absolutely not. She is not part of this negotiation. Leticia didn't look at him. She simply walked to the table. She reached for the open folder, the one she had quietly photographed minutes earlier, and turned to page 23. The page with the financial breakdown. Mr. Thompson, she said calmly, here is your problem. Everyone leaned in. The conversion from yuan to USD is incorrect. The projected equity share is miscalculated. If you signed this contract as is, your company would lose $3.8 million. Gasps. William's heart nearly stopped. Chen examined the figures, nodded slowly, and said in Mandarin, She is correct. The numbers are wrong. Then he turned, not to William, not to Ricardo, but to Leticia. How did you identify the error? Leticia met his eyes with calm respect. Because I studied your market, your negotiation structure, and your valuation patterns. I know that accuracy is a sign of respect in Chinese business culture. Chen's expression softened deeply. He understood. Not just the math, not just the language, but the discipline, the sacrifice, the quiet strength that reminded him of his own mother. Meanwhile, Ricardo was unraveling. William, you can't listen to her. She's just... William raised a hand. His voice was low. Controlled. Dead serious. Ricardo. Sit down. Ricardo froze. William turned to Leticia. Miss Silva, what do you propose? Leticia took a slow breath. Her voice was steady. First, a formal apology to Mr. Chen and to my mother, publicly and without excuses. Chen nodded once. Second, we correct the investment figures and restructure the negotiation terms with full transparency. William nodded slowly. And third? She turned her gaze fully on Ricardo. Mr. Ricardo's position becomes available, effective today. The room went dead still. Ricardo's face went white. You can't do this. But he could. And more importantly, Chen approved. He stepped forward and spoke in firm English. No translator needed now. I will sign the contract only if she leads this partnership. She has the intelligence, respect, and professionalism your company lacks. Then he looked directly at Carmen. You raised a remarkable daughter. Carmen covered her mouth, tears now falling freely. Ricardo was finished. William knew it. Everyone in that room knew it. The power had shifted. Not because of money. Not Ricardo stood frozen, his face drained of color. The room, once filled with laughter, was now silent enough to hear his heartbeat pounding. William straightened his suit jacket, the authority returning to his voice. "Ricardo Montero," he said coldly, "as of this moment, you are suspended from all company operations pending formal termination." Ricardo's mouth fell open. "You're choosing her over me? A maid's daughter? This is insane." William didn't blink. "No, Ricardo. What's insane is that a woman you mocked for years just saved the biggest international contract this company has ever seen, while you nearly destroyed it." Gasps whispered around the room. Ricardo tried to speak again, but his voice wavered, the arrogance gone. "You can't do this. You need me." Chen stepped forward, calm, controlled, devastating. "No. What this company needs," he said, looking directly at Leticia, "is competence, respect, and intelligence, not pride and cruelty." Then, in perfect cutting English, "You humiliated a hard-working woman to feel powerful. That is the behavior of small men." Ricardo's knees nearly buckled. Security stepped forward. For the first time, the laughter was gone, and the consequences real. "Ooh." The recognition. William turned to Leticia again, this time not as an employer to an employee's child, but as a businessman recognizing another professional. "Miss Silva," he said, "I would like to formally offer you the position of cultural and international negotiations. Liaison for Thompson Enterprises." Carmen gasped softly. Leticia did not answer right away. Her eyes filled, not with arrogance, but with a lifetime of held-in emotion finally allowed to come forward. She squeezed her mother's hand. "Thank you, Mr. Thompson," she replied, "but I accept this position only under one condition." William nodded. "Name it." Leticia looked at her mother, her voice steady. "My mother's 7 years of service deserve recognition, respect, and fair compensation. She will no longer be a maid in this house." Carmen's breath shattered. William swallowed, ashamed, and nodded deeply. "Mrs. Carmen Silva," he said, turning to her, "your service has been invaluable. Starting today, you are promoted to house supervisor, with full benefits, salary increase, and contract protections." Carmen covered her face, unable to speak, tears streaming now freely. Leticia wrapped her arms around her mother. For the first time, Carmen stood tall. "Ooh," at the new partnership. Chen approached Leticia, offering his hand. "I would like you to lead our cross-cultural venture expansion, not as a representative of this company, but as my partner in negotiation." Leticia inhaled sharply. They shook hands. Just like that, the girl who grew up hearing she should stay in her place had just stepped into the world stage. Not because someone gave her an opportunity, but because she prepared for the moment no one else saw coming. The car ride back home was silent. Not a heavy silence, but the kind that feels like breathing after drowning. Carmen held Leticia's hand the entire way. For years she had walked into that mansion through the back door, never seen, never acknowledged, always quiet. But tonight, she walked out through the front entrance, security opening the doors for her. Ooh, this home. Their neighborhood was small, concrete walls cracked by sun, motorcycle engines echoing somewhere far, the smell of street food warming the evening air. The neighbors noticed the black company car immediately. Mouths dropped. Windows opened. Kids stopped playing. "Is that Carmen? Who's the man in the suit? Wait, that's her daughter. Leticia." Carmen felt embarrassed for a moment, but Leticia squeezed her hand again. "Mum," she whispered, "you don't have to lower your eyes anymore." So Carmen lifted her chin and kept walking. Ooh. Inside their small house. The table was old. The roof leaked in the corner. The curtains faded from years of sun. But this home was where every sacrifice had lived. Carmen sat down slowly, overwhelmed. "Filia," she whispered, "I don't know how to live like this. I only know how to work." Leticia knelt in front of her mother, her voice soft. "Steady." "Loving." "Mom, you've worked enough for a lifetime. Now it's my turn." Carmen burst into tears, the kind that come from exhaustion finally breaking open. Leticia held her. No words needed. Ooh. Yes, and then the door knocked. Knock, sir. Knock. Carmen froze. Leticia stood up. When she opened the door, her heart stopped. There stood Ricardo. No security. No arrogance, just a man whose world had collapsed. His tie was loose. His eyes red. Leticia, please, I need to talk. The neighborhood leaned out of windows. Phones recording, whispers rising like smoke. Leticia stepped outside and closed the door behind her. Her voice was calm, cold. What do you want, Ricardo? He swallowed. I lost everything today. My position, my respect, my career. He breathed out in a broken sound. I need your help to fix this. Leticia stared at him, not with anger, not with revenge, but with clarity. After Ricardo walked away into the night, Leticia closed the door and leaned against it. Her heart steady, her mind clear. She had made her choice. There was no going back. Weeks later, the company released a public announcement. A new strategic partnership director, Leticia Silva. Her name, her signature, her position, official. News outlets called it From Maid's Daughter to Corporate Leader. Social media exploded. Interviews, conference invitations, business podcasts asking for her story. But Leticia didn't rush for cameras. She worked, quietly, relentlessly, precisely, just like her mother taught her. The trip to Shanghai. 1 month later, Leticia boarded a plane to China this time. Not as an assistant, not as a translator, not as a silent observer, but as the lead negotiator representing her company. Her mother watched her enter the airport, proud, emotional but smiling this time. Vai, filha, she whispered. Go, the world is yours now. The signing ceremony. In Shanghai, towering glass windows reflected the city lights, like stars fallen to earth. Reporters gathered. Executives watched. Leticia entered the room with calm steps. Chen stood waiting, respectful, impressed, already trusting her. He extended his hand. We become partners now. Not just in business, in respect. Leticia bowed slightly, honoring his culture. Thank you for believing in me. They signed. Pens clicked. Cameras flashed. Pages turned. A new international partnership was born, and the world took notice. The headlines the next day. Young woman breaks barriers in global trade. Daughter of maid rewrites corporate hierarchy. Brazil meets China. Partnership led by genius negotiator. But the most powerful headline came from a small community, newspaper in her neighborhood. The maid's daughter did it. Meanwhile, there's Ricardo. He watched everything on a cracked phone screen. No company, no status, no power. Just silence and consequences. But Leticia never mentioned him again, because her future no longer had his shadow in it. At the final scene. Leticia returned home from the airport. Same small house, same old table, same roof. But this time, she placed a new set of keys in front of her mother. Carmen looked up, confused. Filha, what is this? Leticia smiled, the soft kind filled with history. Our new home. No uniforms. No yes, sir. No back doors anymore. You walk in the front now. Carmen covered her mouth. Tears streaming again, but this time they were freedom tears. Leticia embraced her. You raised me with nothing. I will give you everything. And for the first time in her life, Carmen believed she deserved it. Articles, documentaries, interviews from around the globe. People wanted to learn, not just watch. They wanted to understand. How did a maid's daughter rise into global leadership? How did she turn humiliation into strategy? How did she never break? And every time someone asked the secret, Leticia gave the same answer. Because my mother believed I could. So scholarships in Carmen's name. Leticia created something powerful. The Carmen Silva Foundation, a scholarship fund for children of cleaners, children of factory workers, children of the unseen, unheard, underestimated, students who were told, people like you don't get far. Now they did. Every scholarship certificate had one line printed at the bottom. Your beginning does not define your destination. Carmen cried the day she saw her name printed there, not out of sadness, but because for the first time her life had meaning beyond survival.
Ooh.
Their new life. Their new home was not a mansion. It didn't need to be. It was a warm house filled with peace, not wealth. No servants. No gold rooms, just quiet mornings and open windows. Carmen planted flowers in the yard, flowers she never had time for before, and every morning she watered them slowly, smiling. Because this time she wasn't rushing to catch the bus. She was finally living.
Ooh.
One day, a letter arrived. Hand-delivered. Elegant envelope. No return name. Leticia opened it carefully. Inside, an invitation to speak at the United Nations. Topic: the power of mothers in building nations. Leticia closed her eyes, emotional, grounded. She looked at her mother washing dishes by the window, sunlight touching her hair as if blessing her. "Mom, they want to hear your story." Carmen turned, confused. "My story? But I only cleaned houses." Leticia walked to her and held her hands. "No, Mai, you built a woman. And that woman changed the world." Carmen's tears fell again, but this time not from pain, from legacy.
Ooh.
Final closing words. Not all heroes wear suits. Not all warriors hold swords. Not all legends are born in palaces. Sometimes, a legend is a tired woman with cracked hands and a heart that never gave up. And sometimes, a revolution begins with a daughter who decides, "My mother will never be invisible again.